This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations. Welcome to episode 1, and it's great to be with you here today.
Whoa, episode 1. Ryan, right off the bat, I feel like we should put out a disclaimer. We're not marriage experts. We're not therapists or even counselors.
No, we're not. But what we are is we're two people in love with Jesus. And we're in love with each other, and we're dedicated to growing our marriage. We've been married for almost 12 years, and I can say that it's only gotten better.
That's sweet, love. Thank you. Actually, I wrote that part of the script, but I
did.
know that you mean that, though. So thank you. So Ryan, why a podcast? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, so we really wanted to create a spot for just real conversations about marriage, where we can talk about difficult topics, sometimes uncomfortable topics that relate to our marriages. We wanted to have an open forum that's real, raw, and honest, both the struggles and the fruits that come along with a godly marriage. Marriage really, truly is a gift from God, and He placed it on our hearts, Michelle, to really open up and have conversations. Just real conversations about our marriage, about other marriages as well. So if we're not able to talk about things from a kingdom perspective, then we're going to rely on culture to tell us what marriage looks like.
That's so true.
And that's part of really been a passion of mine to dig into, let's talk about this instead of letting the culture talk about it. Let's talk about things like conflict resolution, about raising kids, about finances, about intimacy. Let's reclaim that. Let's talk about that from a godly perspective and not rely on culture to teach us that.
That's so good.
It's really been weighing on me that it's time. It's time to reclaim and restore godly marriages.
I love that. Reclaim and restore. That's so good. Ryan, you're so smart. That's good.
Oh, thanks. So, Michelle, how about you?
I mean, I'm along for the ride. No, but seriously, do you remember the weekend at church? We were asked a question. One of the pastors that came to speak said, what is your yes? What is your godly yes? And Ryan, do you remember what my yes was?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I told God, I said, I will speak wherever you want me to speak. And then the floodgates opened.
Right.
Well, and they'd started open a little bit. We were getting ready to go on a trip, and this was something that was presented to us. And I was like, okay, well, let us pray about it. And for years, you have had this growing, I would say almost a discontentment. Is that a fair word?
Yeah,
with how do I help pour into men in our community? How do I help pour into marriages and not knowing how to do that. Right. Not knowing what medium or vehicle to do that through. So God's been stirring in you and working in you. And really these sermons started happening. We were also taking a class, I think, on spiritual formation and spiritual disciplines and or self-formation is what it was. Yeah. And so I think through that, I remember you had a conversation with our pastor then in one of the classes, I know that there's more for us. And we just were in this seeking journey of trying to figure out what is that? Where does that lead us? And what does that look like? And I had told you for years, I think, as we had these conversations, Ryan, you would be so good at a podcast. You're analytical, you're well-spoken, you're smart, you have really wise thoughts, and you're able to see things from a different perspective that I think is just so brilliant. When you talk, people listen. Because you're not a man of many words, but when you do speak, they're really wise. So I'd been telling you that we just didn't really know how to do that. And then this came forward. And so all these things kind of collided into a big yes. And so I guess you asked me why a podcast, and that's maybe the practical how. But that did set the stage. And I think the why for me really is, Ryan, I've been the maid of honor for multiple weddings now, and those marriages, one didn't make it, and another one of my friends, it's been really tough. There's been talk of separation, and I think to stand up at the altar and to be there for someone, and then to see it kind of fold in on itself and feeling like, you're trying to be a friend, you're trying to be there and trying to give guidance, but there's clearly struggles in our society. And if that's your story, you're so welcome here. And we're so glad that you're here because this is a podcast for healing and we want to help for future relationships. But just seeing that firsthand and being broken by it, just seeing the kids go through it, to see just what it's doing to them personally and the trauma and all of that, that now they're working to heal from, that's my why.
Yeah.
Is that I think, in our 12 years, it's not that it's been easy. We've had a lot of things that we've worked through, but, and we'll talk about this a little later on. I think it's our 5-Minute Friday topic of the week. We're going to talk about, some things with unity and conflict resolve and stuff like that. So, I think my why is just bringing awareness and action steps. And like you said, being real, like just talking about some real stuff. We told our daughter, she's a teenager, we're like, we're going to talk about intimacy. So, skip that, if you're listening, you can skip that one if you want, but just, we're going to be really real. And I heard it said that you're moving in a direction in your marriage every day. You're either moving forward or backwards. Do you remember that? We heard that. It was probably here at Celebrate. We heard either growing or dying. So deciding what direction, and just for you listening, what direction are you going? And you can't say that you're stagnant. You can't say we're just complacent. You can't stay. That's not an option.
Right.
You're either going forward or going backwards. You're growing or you're dying. So bringing awareness to that, being intentional about helping to grow marriages. And we know it's so busy with kids, with chasing careers, all this stuff. But if you let those things take a priority, then just think, where will your marriage be in 5 years, in 10 years? I want it to be growing closer to Christ and closer to each other. So that's the case for us. And for you listening, I want that for you guys too.
Yeah, it's so good, Michelle. It really, truly is an active choice. I think marriage is not passive. You can't just sit and hope for a great marriage. It takes...
Hope's not a good strategy, right? Hope's not a strategy.
No, not at all. It's definitely an active approach, and I love that of growing. You're either growing or dying, but that takes active work, and we're all busy. We all have things, and to put that as a priority, I love that.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
Good. So let's talk about format, change gears a little bit here, but let's talk about format of
it's going to be fun.
What these shows will actually look like. So each week we'll have 2 episodes. One full show will be similar to what we're doing here today. It will be either an interview with a special guest, or it'll be Michelle and I tackling a topic, an important topic that relates to marriage. And then the second being a fun 5-Minute Friday episode that will be just a quick, what do I want to say? Quick, just...
practical things for them to do in their marriage, whether it's date night ideas or some kind of a conflict resolution strategy or an actionable item, but practical 5 minutes of practical things for you to implement in your marriage, whether it's over the weekend or, whenever you listen to it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have some great shows lined up already. We have kind of type A with my spreadsheets. We have a spreadsheet and we have some really great topics planned. We even have some guests lined up already, and it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really rich content. So join us for both of those episodes each week. And Ryan, you want to talk about how we're gonna end our shows?
Yeah. So one of the things that we kind of came up with that I think will be really cool is we have 3 really important questions that we want to ask every guest that comes onto the show. Today, we're going to ask each other.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it'll be a good start, and then you can kind of gather from there. And maybe just as we read the questions, maybe you answer them with your spouse as well, just at home while you're listening. Just a great kind of icebreaker, if you will, or a great conversation starter, maybe. Just to do that, and we'll dive in.
Yeah. So our 3 questions. Do I want to read them all now or just one at a time? Should we tell them so they can think
Sure,
about them?
yeah. We can read them all now and then we'll dive in.
So first one, why is marriage important to you? That's gonna be deep.
Yeah.
That's good. 2, it's gonna be fun. Best date night. Number 3, what's bringing you joy in your marriage right now? So let's answer them. Ryan, do you want to start with why is marriage important to you?
Yeah, why is marriage important to me? I'm going to jump right in here to, we're going to start in Genesis.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, I like this. Genesis 2:18 says, it's not good for man to be alone. I'll make a helper that is just right for him. Continues to talk about how he created a woman. And 2:22 says, then the Lord God made a woman from the rib and brought her to the man. Genesis 2:24 says, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. See, this is why marriage is important to me, because God made a perfect helper for me in my spouse, in Michelle. And we're united as one. If it's very important to God, and God created this perfect helper for me, then it needs to be important to me. That needs to be a priority for me. So when I look at Genesis, though, this is the question of the day here, Michelle. So Genesis 2, you have Adam creates Eve. They're happy. Everything's going well. You could say they're in paradise. You could say it's the honeymoon phase. Chapter 3, it all goes wrong. So, how long do you think a chapter is?
I mean, God's time is not our time. I don't know, but do you think a few hours? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a great question, but I was going to point that out too, Ryan, that before we even get out of Genesis, in the very beginning, Eve's eating the apple, the first sin, and then God asks them, hey guys, what in the world? I told you all the fruit but that one tree. And Adam throws Eve under the bus immediately. Right. She's throwing the serpent under the bus. And it's just this colossal train of blame game. And I feel we just got all these issues, not so good. And I think we're gonna talk about that in future episodes, right? Ownership, blame, stuff like that. Yeah. But it's they already started those their marriage, oh my gosh, they're going to counseling already, got a lot of stuff going on. So, okay, my answer. Okay. Yeah. So why is marriage important to me? When we got married, our pastor told us this. He said, Ryan and Michelle, God will use you exponentially more together as a married couple than he ever could or would as two separate individual people. Yeah. That stuck with me all these years. Yeah. So that's good. Powerful. Right. And I don't even think we realized at the time, what does that even mean? We're going to be married, we'll do things together, but to look back and see what we have done for God's glory together has been really, really, I would say, exponential, impactful, powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about that in some future episodes, 2 years in ministry and doing a lot of service work together and impacting people and lives for the kingdom, you know, that we'll never know the full unfolded stories of.
I think even the highs and lows of life as well. It's just, it's exponential.
Sure.
Because the two were united into one.
Yeah.
And so to celebrate those tremendous blessings and those gifts and those experiences positive are exponentially better. But also as you're walking through valleys, as I've gone through different health journeys, to know that God made a helper, a perfect helper for me and my spouse.
Right.
To have somebody to walk through those journeys.
Right. And you're my helper too.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes both ways, right? You're my partner in that. Right. And we've had people say that, wow, to see how you guys, so just last fall, Ryan, we play adult soccer and it's incredible. And we're, grown team of, adults playing soccer in our 30s and 40s and 20s and all ages, and you were shooting a goal and someone came crashing through and their cleat landed on his leg and snapped the tibia. They could hear it from the sidelines. We were just talking about last night. We played the same team. And, but to hear people say like, wow, how you guys went through that together, it like was incredible to watch. And just, it's not that it wasn't really kind of crummy. It was hard. It's been almost a full year now and it's still, you're still recovering from some things with that. So, but just to hear people say that observation, like, wow, how you guys weathered that storm and, God was still on the throne. He's still doing amazing things. Yeah. So yeah, I totally get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
All right. So second question, Michelle, best date night.
Okay, so I know we have our outline here. I didn't want to have a pre-scripted answer for this because I wanted it to just be like out of my memory recall. Yeah. And I think that it would be when you brought me to see a dueling piano show on a date night. We had dueling pianos at our wedding, and Ryan's a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. So we actually had them for our first dance. They did a mashup of, I think it was Gary Allen and Aaron Lewis, Stained, right? It was like country rock, just this super cool. I can't remember the specific songs. It was beautiful though. The lyrics were so good, and they mashed it up, and we had this like country rock and roll song, and they were performing, I don't know, it was a town outside of our city here, and you'd found out about them, called them, and they were like, that literally was the only time we'd ever played that song, and that was like 5 years ago at that point. And they were like, we can see if we remember how to do that. So we went, and you went up and put your cash in the jar, and they saw we were there, and we danced to that, and it was so cool. It was so cool. It was really thoughtful of you, and just it was cool to like think back to our wedding too. Yeah. So, and I don't think that was an anniversary. I think that was just a random date, and that was really special. Yeah. So I would say that just because of the creativity you put into it, like you did a lot of work to line that up. So it's cool. What about you?
I'm going to go just kind of generic. I'm not going to go specific here, but I kind of like to be a little old school on some things. Like I like to go out on a date. I like to, guys like actually like take a shower, get like, dress nice. If you have a suit, wear a suit. Yeah. If you don't, put on your nicest clothes. Sure. Go to a nice restaurant. We've done that several times, and there's something about it that just, it's the effort that's put into it that I know that Michelle appreciates as well. But it's just taking a step above like your normal, like, hey, let's do something like really nice. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've done it more than several times. Yeah. Like, I mean, in 12 years. I mean, we've done it a few times. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I know what you mean though. Like if we travel, like try to find a nice restaurant and do that, or, here in town. I mean, it's hard to find time to do that, and, a lot they organize to the sitter and all that. But yeah. Right. Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about it. You don't have to do it every time, but there's something about just, I don't know, get dressed up, go to a nice place, and take your spouse on a date, buy her flowers, that kind of stuff. Like, I know it's not common anymore, but I don't know. I like doing that. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. You can see the twinkle in your eye too. You can see it on our video here. Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Do you want to ask this one? Yeah. So the last question here, Michelle, what's bringing you joy in our marriage right now? I think, so I brought up our soccer team. I really love just having fun with you. Like playing soccer. We've gotten into pickleball lately. We do some of this with our kids. Some of it are, date nights. Just having fun together, I think, is really life-giving to me and joy-giving, and just like laughing together and just appreciating one another is really fun. That's one. And two, I think this, like, I really like seeing you. I feel like you're in your zone with, thanks. Like content and, just like already we're episode 1 here, but I can tell like, it's just really cool. I really like seeing you in that zone. So it's bringing me joy. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. What about you? Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. We love having fun together. I think that's a key component to marriage. But I also think for us, it's another thing that's been really joyful to me is being part of a small group, part of a life group.
For sure. Yeah.
We've started one fairly recently, and I love being in community with people that are wanting the same thing.
Yeah.
That are wanting to build and grow their marriage. That I don't know. There's just something about that that's really exciting. It brings me a lot of joy that we do it together. That we're a part of it together and growing our marriage together.
Yeah.
I really, really am enjoying that.
It goes into that intentional growth, right?
Yeah,
Not just staying
absolutely.
stagnant, but to actively work on it. Every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was so good. And that was our final question. We're excited to ask those to guests as well. And that's a wrap, Ryan, for our first episode. Can you believe it?
No, it's incredible.
Like, I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us today on the Celebrate MarriageCast. If you would like further help or resources on marriage and family, visit us at celebrate.church/marriage, celebrate.church/marriage. Have a great week, and we will talk to you on 5 Minute Friday.